Happy Monday. Happy Monday. How you feeling? Did you go to the Roots picnic? Well, I didn't go, but I drove through it. Shout out to the Ebbs that came up, my homegirls that came up to enjoy the picnic. But that ain't what we talking about. Being single is, it's a couple of things I could talk about as far as being single, because it's been for a while. And one thing about being single is that it's liberating. So, you feel free. You can go and do what you want to do, hang out as you please, you deal with whoever you want to, talk to people, not feel this guilt in the back of your mind about doing things that you would do, of course, if you had a mate. And it's free. And then it's free. And then it's more free. But for most of us, although it is difficult sometimes and does take discipline, as one of the Ebbs was saying to me, to stay in a monogamous, committed relationship. Also, after a while of being free and single, you kind of look forward to it. So I guess, you know how they always say the grass is greener on the other side? Because I think back to having a relationship, a good relationship, and saying to myself, wow, you know what, this is really cool. You really, like, you have this thing in you that's like, hey, that's my family over there, or, that's my girl, or for those of you who, that's my wife, and feeling proud of the situation. Or when, like with me, you got a wedding of a friend coming up next month, and you got to sit and think to yourself, wow, like, who am I going to take? Am I just going to take the solo route? What am I going to do? Now, of course, I can find somebody, but like, is there somebody that I really legit want to take, to something like that? A guy who's really cool with me, his wedding. Or do I just still go by myself? And these are some of the things that when you are single, you really got to think about. You got to say to yourself, hey, although the decisions I make as far as romantically now become 100% mine and who I choose to deal with, but there's something about social interaction and having a collaborative relationship with people, especially when it comes down to that. Because look, let's face it, a lot of people, we've all been in some type of romantic relationship, and a lot of people still are, for better or for worse, but they still are. Because there's some type of connection there. There's some type of wanting to have somebody that you can say, hey, look, this is my person. We rock out, we go do this, we go through that. Now let me ease up. Because, when we're younger, sometimes, you just want to have a girl to say you have a girl. I mean, you want to feel it and know it, but you got a girl, but you still always just go out with the homies, possibly looking for other girls. Or, you decide to say, hey, look, I got my main girl and then I got my side chick, right? So, we've all kind of been through, or a lot of us have been through those times when we may not have been as transparent or honest with our partner. And, we thought we were doing something until she cheats on us, and then it just hits hard to the core. It's like a kick in the what. So it's freeing. But then what happens is, and what I'm finding, the first year, you're still kind of going through your heartbreak or disappointment of the dissolving of your last romantic situation. And you know how it is, you and her, you kind of go back and forth. And then you say to yourself, like, or it comes to a point, or almost like how Cardi B, not to throw her in there, made it kind of official with Stefan Diggs, where it's like, yo, listen, my last chapter is over. I've officially moved on to this new guy. Or, in a situation where some of us go from relationship to relationship to relationship, not really giving ourselves enough time to heal. Because, hey, listen, when you're heartbroken, really, a lot of times, who wants to heal? Especially guys. Guys, going through heartbreak as a guy is really, really hard. So you don't want to go through it alone. But the freedom starts to become an issue. And why do I say it's an issue? Because like what I just said, now you don't have that significant partner, you don't have that one where you could say, hey, look, this person, at least to my knowledge, is exclusively mine. This person, I know that when weddings, funerals, different events come up, that this is the person that's rocking with me. You see me, you see her. And as I think back on it, I've done most of that, but I've never really been, in my estimation, 100% connected and locked into that. So it takes an amount of training. And like I said, just like with this, being totally single, where it takes training again so if I were to get back into another relationship, I would have to, although I would know what to do, now I would have to recalibrate and retrain to become a great dude again, or a great boyfriend or potential husband to someone, because now I have to think in more of a collaborative effort, as opposed to just thinking about what Greg wants to do, or how I want to do things, and getting stuck, because that's what happens. And when you're younger, you always hear that from older folks. Yeah, as you get older, you get stuck in your ways. You can't teach a old dog new tricks. But that's where, hopefully, although we are stuck in what we like to do because it makes us feel good or regular or comfortable, always being open to the challenge to become a different kind of person, to become a better mate, to become a better partner. So that's the one side of it. The other side of being single is, for everything I just said, sometimes it becomes depressing, and that's what we're all about, trying to be as real and transparent as possible. It becomes depressing because although, you may still meet women, or if any women are watching, you still meet men, you still have to kind of go through this vetting process. You still have to go through things that, as I realize as I've gotten older, don't really affect me as much, but it's still some stuff that it just irritates me a little bit. So I'll give you, for instance, I met someone, I won't give a time on it, but I met somebody, and, cool. Had a nice conversation and everything, maybe about 10 minutes, and it was at an event, and everything. So yeah, make sure you call me such and such. And I said, yeah, I got you. I said, you know what? Matter of fact, what you doing later on? Let's go out later on. I know we just met, but let's go out later on. She said, cool. She said, yeah, just, hit me up, we can go out, and kick it, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock or whatever. So I was like, cool. And what I didn't do is that I didn't follow up with her, which is definitely on me. And it's really highly unlikely that I do that, but I didn't follow up. And I actually fell asleep. So the next day, she had given me a call and a text message, called and text, and said, hey, look, I tried to call you, but, because it was a little later the next day, so I went to sleep. So anyway, I was asleep also. Next day, I text her back, hey, what's going on? So no response. So I should have called her. Because I always encourage guys, hey, listen, just make the call, especially if you're of a certain age. You don't need to, because text can become misconstrued and all that stuff. Just make the call. It's all good. Make the call. So I didn't hear anything back for the entire next day. So then I waited a day or two. I said, well, maybe she's a little busy. So I text again, and I didn't call. I text again. And so about 25 minutes after the second text I sent, I get hey, I just want to let you know that, I'm not for the BS, and, it was nice meeting you, but have a good, be good, or something like that. Basically just like a get out of here dismissive text message. So I thought about it, and I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, wow, what did I do that maybe was like a turn off to doing that? And it could have been not the right follow up, but I said, thank you. I'm glad that you did this now, because you showed me that you may be, a little we'll be nice, be different with your thinking. Because that is the good thing about being a certain age. Once you become 35, 40, like I always say, you should be sure of yourself. Yeah, we all have insecurities. We all have issues. But the one thing I know for me, we're not going to have is that we're not going to have someone that I just met telling me how basically like I'm full of BS. You don't even know me outside of the initial interaction. You've never had an actual conversation with me. And that's cool. That's cool. Go ahead. I'm glad you let me know that right now. And that's the reason why I talk, and I talk out here, and that's why I want you guys to comment, tell me what you think about certain stuff, because guess what? There's certain things that, in my estimation, are not tolerable. And that's cool. I'm glad she did that. Here you go. Contact, text messages, delete, out of here. Because the thing is that still, as being a man, as being a decent man, and as I talked before, being a gentleman should count for something. It should count for something. And if a person doesn't appreciate you being a gentleman, being a decent person, then that's okay, because somebody else will. So that's that part of being single. But I would say overall, just in closing, being single has definitely opened up my eyes to a lot of different things where, like, kind of like how people treat you, how people perceive you. And it's so weird because people always say, well, where's your wedding ring at? You're not wearing your wedding ring. And I'm like, I'm not married. And even at 51, sometimes I sit back and say, wow, dang, I'm not married. And hey, look, everybody isn't meant to be married. Do I think a lot of people would like to be married? Sure. But it's not a requisite for life. But I still think that it's a good thing if you can get it done and if you could do it with the right person. So right now, for me, being single is just, hey, listen. We're going to keep rocking and rolling. We're going to keep going until we find the right type of people. And like I always try to say, good people to surround yourself with, to choose from. Because, hey, listen, it got to be some dope people out there that don't live with, a bunch of other people. Like I've said before in another video, somebody where you can go over, you can kind of walk around in your underwear and, get some eggs and turkey bacon in the morning. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, you tell me what you think, especially if you're single. How's it feel being single, especially at these big ages of 40s and 50s or 60s or whatever? But you know how we do. Until next time, live life. Don't let life live you.